CCNA, that Cisco Certified Network Associate certification that IT individuals prize, has been around for decades, and it has gone in cycles. It's had loads of people piling into it back when I was getting my CCNA in the 90s and early 2000s. And then people shifted their attention elsewhere. Security, servers, virtualization. Where do we stand right now? Well, the reality is that it's a really good time to take a keen look back at your Cisco CCNA if you don't have one already. And let me tell you why. I and a lot of individuals in the Cisco space that care about Cisco, care about people's success for a career, care about organizations, IT staff being able to do their job effectively. Why is this relevant right now? Maybe a little bit more than it was in years past, or a lot more relevant. First, it's really important to recognize that things are changing. We're at the precipice of IPv6 finally mattering. Certainly, IPv4 is the foundation of networking today, but we're moving over to IPv6. And there's something that's also happening at the same time. We're moving from very traditional networking to the early days of software-defined networking. Now, we see software-defined networking in Cisco with respect to things like SD access and SD-WAN. These two technologies I've taken a really close look at, and although you don't absolutely have to know core networking in order to be able to work within those spaces, you won't understand how to roll it out if you don't understand how traditional networking works. You have to understand the past before you understand the future. So that's one reason to think that it's a really good idea to get your CCNA now while you don't have the burden of all the newfangled things which you're going to be responsible for, the IPv6s and the software-defined networking. It's also important that we recognize the worth that has never escaped CCNA. This is really the best place to get a good foundation in networking. Routing, switching, subnetting, IPv4. These are core skills that we pick up in the CCNA classes, the ICND1, ICND2, and we need to recognize that these are important for anyone in IT, whether you're doing server administration as a Microsoft tech or virtualization, or you're a help desk individual. Knowing how even a workstation gets an IP address, how it communicates with its default gateway, being able to do an IP config and look at its IP address subnet mask default gateway and recognize, oh, there's something wrong. I can't reach my default gateway. Even though that's not a focus of the CCNA classes, it's a skill you're going to pick up if you do attend this class. There's also something interesting that's the byproduct of the industry shifting away from having so much worth placed in CCNA. When I was getting started in Cisco, it was really the only game in town. You were a CCNA, and then you just pursued CCNP and then CCIE. Nowadays, there's so many certifications to choose from, and a lot of people are gravitating towards other certifications. And so there's actually a scarcity of CCNAs. This is a core set of skills that people have decided to bypass, to sidestep. And the reality is you're going to differentiate yourself amongst other people in your space, other peers, other teammates. If they don't have CCNA, you do, you're going to be more impactful to an organization, or you're going to be able to interview for that next job better because you have those key skills that a lot of people just never took the time to pick up. It's foundational stuff, but it's impactful, real world foundational stuff that you pick up at the CCNA level. Then you have to recognize that for a while, this is a gate, it's a prerequisite for certain levels in IT. I personally don't consider an IT person joining my staff if they don't have their CCNA. Why? Because I wouldn't want them to touch my routers and switches. I don't want to have to teach them IP addressing and subnetting from scratch. this is a good way to prove yourself, to prove that you have the aptitude of being successful in IT. And finally, a reason for the immediacy is the timeliness of the certification in 2019 and what's coming down the pike in early 2020. We know that all Cisco certifications, associate level and professional level, are getting a major revamp in February of 2020. And anytime that we see a revision of certifications, we have to recognize that that reboot necessarily makes the certifications harder. Why does it make it harder? Well, people don't know those certifications as well. They're fresh. And so the mystery makes it harder. And Cisco tends to jam more content each and every time they build a new certification. And so it's not a bad idea to get your CCNA now, just because it's going to be easier now than in the future. So is CCNA relevant? It's always been relevant, but it's more relevant and more important to get it right now because of what's coming down from Cisco and all the changes that we're seeing in IT. And, if you're looking at the next certification to pursue, I'd want you to take a close look at the ICND1, ICND2 classes that make up the CCNA. And I think you're going to get a ton out of our delivery. Raymond Lacoste does an amazing job in these classes, and he's going to set you up for success.